remember that reference anyhow. Okay, so this is stopping beliefs that stop you. And part of it, of course, is to become aware of what beliefs we have and how that works. So I'm going to move. Can you guys see other people on there? I'm going to move this out of the way just to make sure that that's not happening. Okay. So normally, and again, like I said, this is review for some of you who've been here before, but we think a life experience, right, causes our feelings. Anybody go, oh, she yelled at me, I'm hurt, right? Or I didn't get the raise I wanted, I'm really discouraged, right? That's what we think happens. And then those feelings, those emotions, we really feel them inside of our bodies, and it affects our behavior. But there's actually something that comes between those life experience and the feelings. The feelings just don't pop up out of the clear blue. So anybody who's not been here before want to answer what those are? Okay, anybody who has been here before want to say what that is? What happens in between? It's okay, guys. Just guess.
You create beliefs based on your experiences.
Mm-hmm. Right? Absolutely. And what do you think, Stephanie, happens before the beliefs?
Not a clue.
Okay. Well, thoughts. Thoughts, beliefs, and our story. So I've talked about creating your story last time. These are all interdependent on each other. It's like a chicken or egg situation. So our thoughts create beliefs, but then once we have our beliefs, then our thoughts go along with what those beliefs are. And we have a story based on our life experiences to substantiate why we have those beliefs and why we have those thoughts, because we want to be right. Human beings have this need to be right. And our perceptions, our story is what we think is the truth. But if you've ever had the experience of talking to somebody from your childhood, or even now, or somebody you grew up with, have you ever had the experience of having a different memory of the same event? Yeah, I mean, I sure have. My sister's 6 years older than I am. We have had, and it's too bad our parents have, well, it's too bad for a lot of reasons that they have passed away, but there's sometimes I really want to check out with them. Okay, my sister says this, I say that, which happened? It doesn't matter. It's my truth and her truth. So again, for those of you who haven't been here before, I'm just going to, and this will look familiar for those who have, but I want you to realize that the connection between the mind, brain, and body, so that we can talk about how beliefs were formed and how we can stop those that are stopping us and reframe and recreate positive, empowering beliefs. So we have a mind, brain, and body, and they are all interconnected. How many people think the mind and brain are the same thing? Anybody? Okay, it's kind of intimidating to speak up. Stephanie, thank you for doing that before. So we have a mind, and that is our spiritual selves. And what I believe about why I call it spiritual is because it's non-physical. I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about it's non-physical. We know where the brain is. If all of a sudden our heads were invisible, our skulls were invisible, I should say, we know there's a brain. Anybody know how much our brain, sometimes we wonder where our brains are, but they are up there. How much does the average adult brain weigh? Anybody know? I think this is one of the most fascinating facts in the world. 3.5 pounds.
Wow.
Do you know how many bits of information the brain takes per second and processes?
3.5 million.
60,000. 60,000 per second. We don't think about how we're going to breathe and what our heart is doing or anything else, right? Lots of stuff automatic. But our brain also takes in what's happening in our environment. But it's our mind that interprets what is happening. So where do our thoughts come from? Actually, we don't know. We now know, because of science, there's parts of our brain that have, like the frontal cortex, that has to do with decision making. This is the last thing that gets developed in human beings. And it used to get developed by age 19. You know how long it takes us now to have that frontal cortex develop? What age?
25, I think.
You're right, Pam. 25 for women.
18, well, back when I was in nursing school, they said it was 18 for women and 25 for men. So I was sure that it had changed by now.
Yeah, it's 25 for women and about 26, 27 for men. We do mature faster.
Wow.
Proving once again we are superior. No. Anyhow, but yeah, we do. Our communication centers mature faster. Our ability to to process information and do executive functioning matures faster. So really, I think we need to change some laws. This is just here's a personal belief, that people are no longer adults at 18. We still are saying they are, but they're not. I really think we should raise the age, to 25 for marriage and going into the service, and all sorts of things, because they're not having full functioning brains. But anyhow, that's a whole other story. But we now know, like, the amygdala handles emotions. That's part of our brain. We now know what part handles vision, what part handles memory. What's so fascinating, though, is nobody has dissected where the mind is. That's why it's spiritual. We don't know where it is, but what we do know is when we think thoughts, our brain records them as if they are true, just like a computer. A computer does not know anything except what it's been programmed to know. If we took a computer that had been programmed in the UK and we brought it to the US, how would that computer spell the word behavior?
Ukrainian.
Yeah, from the UK, from Britain, Great Britain. Ever notice they spell things differently? Behavior is spelled with a U in Great Britain. It's not here in the US. That computer does not know that it just got moved to the United States, does it? It doesn't know it. Somebody would have to go in and reprogram it, right? Somebody would have to say, now we're using American English, not the King's English, right? Somebody would have to tell the computer that. It doesn't know. Our brains are the same way. It does not know the difference between something is true or false, between something that is helpful or unhelpful. Our minds know. Our brains do not. And our brains are our servant. It will just tell our body what to do. Ever have a dream and your foot kicked out because you thought you were falling? Right?
Yeah.
The brain was telling your body what to do. You weren't falling. It wasn't until you awakened yourself by kicking out your foot that you went, oh, that's a dream. I had a dream last night about somebody. When I first woke up, I could have sworn it was true. It took me a moment to go, oh, I just dreamt about that person. It was somebody in college. I thought I was with them. It was really weird. It was like, no, I haven't seen that person in 40 years, So, okay. And then our body and our feelings and emotions are the printout. They are the result of what was been programmed into the computer. Okay. So going back to the mind, I said it's spiritual, but this is where the power is. It's like plugging in. The computer doesn't do anything without electricity. Our mind is the power. That's the electricity that makes the whole thing go. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? So there's the connection between the mind, brain, and body. And this is an important thing because guess who gets to choose what we think? Yeah, Stephanie's nodding. Yeah. So here's another important clue for how to rethink successfully. It is important to realize it is not our intentions that matter. It is our attention. what we are focusing our thoughts on is always greater than our intention. So for example, you might intend to have a feeling of prosperity, let's say. But if your attention is on how do I pay this bill, guess what? You just are thinking a thought which creates a belief that's going to prevent you from being financially successful. Isn't that interesting? So it's our attention, not our intentions. Ever been driving down the street and you look, I do this all the time. It's not the best way to drive a car. You see something that is over on the side and all of a sudden you realize that your car is veering in that direction. I wasn't intending to do that, but my attention got diverted to the side. Like, oh, they're building a new house. You know? Okay, that's how it works. Very simple. So what happens? We have a thought, and we do know scientifically that thoughts create energy. If we were hooked up to an EEG machine, we know that thoughts, when we're conscious, aware of time and space, we are creating 14 to 21 cycles per second usually. When we are relaxed and at alpha, we are at 7 to 14 cycles per second. When we sleep, we are at 4 to 7 cycles per second. So our brain waves actually slow down. So when we have a thought, it creates energy. How does that energy get bigger? Like in my illustration, the energy gets bigger.
Act on it?
Well,
From your beliefs?
well, partially. How does it become a belief? You know what a belief is? Anyone? They're just thoughts that you have thought over and over and over again until they have become so strong that they now have coalesced into thoughts that are similar, and that has created a belief. Now, a lot of our beliefs we don't want to let go of, right? I mean, let's just look at, you know, the past presidential election. I was very firm in my belief of who I thought was the best candidate. And I did not want to change that belief. So no matter what I heard from anybody else, I continued to support the candidate that I supported. Because actually his programs were more in alignment with my other beliefs of how things ought to be, right? So I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm just saying I absolutely just didn't want to. But when we are aware that we have a thought that is not helpful, then we need to change it because our beliefs affect our reality. If we think, it was Henry Ford who said, whether or not you think you can or you can't, you are right. It's such an easy quote, and I'm sure you've heard it before, but it does impact our reality. You know, when he told his engineers to create a combustion engine, they hadn't a clue how to do it. They hadn't a clue. But Henry Ford said, I have seen it in my mind. Now, he was not an engineer, but he said, I know it can be done. When President Kennedy said we were going to get on the moon, do you think the NASA people knew how to do that? It was his belief in the possibility, and he just said, do it. Right? Anybody see Apollo 13, that movie? I just love that movie.
Yeah.
Remember when they were stranded and they didn't know how to get back,
Right.
and the commander on ground said, here is the raw material they have to work with.
Yeah.
Make it work. And at first they were like, what? And it was really like putting a square peg in a round hole, right? But guess what? They did it. Because he said failure is not an option. Boom. That's how much our belief can impact our reality. But what happens when we have an unhelpful thought? We have this little turtle, okay? A little turtle that sees perspective. There's nothing wrong with little turtles. What is their perspective, though? They're low to the ground. What's their perspective?
I don't know.
They can only see what's right in front of them. They can only see what is. Okay. Now, if what is pretty good, yay, great. But if you're saying, hey, I can't because of blah, 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 we're just going to keep giving it more energy. But guess what? Until that turtle becomes bigger, we can stop it. We can stop it. All we have to do is say, don't go down that road. Stop. But here's the thing. We cannot not think. All right. It is impossible. If I said to you right now, think of anything but those turtles. What did you just see?
Turtles.
Yeah. Right. This is important, by the way, for parents and grandparents. When you tell your kids don't run, what do you want them to do?
You want them to walk.
Walk in the house, right? Our brains have trouble with a negative command, just letting you know. That's really important, even with discipline, or especially with little kids, because they're so programmable, because they are actually in that alpha brain level much more than adults are. That's one reason they take naps. Okay, and that's the most programmable level we can be at, brain level, for imprinting new information. So, okay, you want to tell yourself what you want as well. So instead of the turtle, now we want a new helpful thought. And we want to give that energy instead until we can have a new empowering belief. Remember what a belief is? Right? It's just thoughts that you have thought about over and over again. So, anybody ever have an argument with a loved one? Haha, right? And then what do? We keep thinking about it. And we think about how
Yes.
horrible they are. What if we said, you know what? I don't like feeling this way. I love this person. I want to be emotionally close to this person. What if we said, okay, I might not agree with them, but I can give them the space to be who they are. Would that give us a new way to feel?
Agree to disagree.
Yep. I just spent 18 days in California. It was so great to see my daughter and grandkids. First time I've done that, obviously, since COVID. And she and I think very differently. I mean, sometimes I go, really? I raised you? You know, it's like, what? And I just said to her, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. You know what? We had the best visit we ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we both did. We agreed to disagree. We disagree about politics. We disagree about anything. I just wonder how the heck she was raised in my family. I don't know. So a new empowering belief, though, is a giraffe. Do you know that giraffes, and my bedroom has tons of giraffes. So in addition to dragonflies, which are in my office, I have giraffes in my bedroom because giraffes stand for a higher perspective, right? They can see, they get the whole world view. In addition, they stand for unconditional love because you know that they have the biggest heart of any animal in the animal kingdom. Now think about it. They have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have to have, their heart is 25 pounds to pump all that blood up to their head. So they might not weigh the most of all the animals, but they have the biggest heart. So they stand for unconditional love as well. So that's why I like to focus on giraffes, right? So this is my analogy in my head of, wow, I want a higher perspective. I want unconditional love. I'm going to focus on giraffes, and I have tons of them, okay? Because it's a great reminder. It's just a visual to remind me. So going back to that thought cycle thing, when we have a helpful thought, we want to give it energy so that it becomes an empowering belief so that it does impact our reality. I am convinced, as is my daughter, because we talked about it, that both of us had a new belief of that we were going to get along well on this trip. We really missed each other. I mean, absence did make the heart grow fonder, you know. It's been an experience. I don't know if any of you else have, but parenting an adult child who has their own family is different, but you're still their mom, So it takes some adjustment. This is why the belief cycle is so important, though, in terms of what we can achieve. So our belief determines the amount of potential that we can tap into, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Anybody know about Roger Bannister in 1954? You know who he is, was? I'm sure he's passed.
No.
He was the first human being, to ever run a mile in under 4 minutes.
Wow.
Up until then, all the scientists, all the doctors, this was his goal, but they told him it was impossible. They said, human beings aren't meant to go that fast. Your heart will pop out of your chest. You can't do it. He chose not to believe them. Now he trained, he wasn't, he took action. Look at the belief cycle. He trained, he wasn't just like, oh, I'll believe it and it'll be so. And he was the first man to run a mile in under 4 minutes. How many people ran a mile in under 4 minutes in the following year after he did it? Ready? How many would you think?
A lot.
200. 200.
Wow.
Do you think people all of a sudden became faster?
Yeah.
Well, wait, they didn't become faster. We were still talking about, runners, people who were training, right? Sprinters, Olympians. They didn't become faster. They believed if Roger Bannister could do it, I can do it, right?
Right.
That was the whole thing. So do you see how our belief impacts our potential, which impacts our actions, and then affects our results? And our results, interestingly enough, that's why it's a cycle, affects our beliefs. Okay. Here's another way that I've created my own little schematic for this. So we're going back to the life experience event. Thoughts, beliefs, stories, like I said, chicken and egg, they all affect each other. They then affect our feelings. I'm using the print that's in black to go along with reactions. Reactions are reacting. It just means acting the way we always have acted. She hurt my feelings. I'm not going to talk to her. Boom. Right? The ones in blue, and I just did it to differentiate. There's nothing wrong with any color. I absolutely love color, in case you couldn't tell. But feelings, oh, all right. Maybe I need to understand where this person is coming from. I'm kind of curious. It just changed my feelings. I then respond. I am responsible. That's what responses are. I am responsible for my own thoughts, feelings, and actions. No one can make us feel anything unless we give them permission. Okay, no one. It's changing reaction to response, and it takes practice. But then we're going to have different actions and different life results. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think, to me, this was such an empowering thing. Because once I realized, wait a second, I have a choice. It made it such a huge difference. So I'm going to present some basic limiting beliefs. It's very doubtful that you are going to have all of these. It is also doubtful that you don't have at least one of them. Okay, these have been proven. I don't know if you know, Albert Ellis is the first one who came up with this. That was in the 60s. He created rational emotive therapy, and this is what he's came up with. Okay, everyone must love me. I must be good at everything. What I would like you to do now is just write down the one that goes, if there is one that you go, oh, I think this way. I know something bad will happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier not to even try. I need someone stronger than I am. There's only one good way, right way to do it. I'm too whatever to do. I'm too old. I'm too uneducated. I'm too dumb, right? Whatever it is to do, whatever it is that you want. Anybody there's more. There's another slide. So if you haven't hit any yet, that's fine. But I want you to realize what these correlate to in terms of there are more beliefs that are attached to these. Okay, we have created from our background, our life experiences, things that support these beliefs because people would rather be right. What I often ask my clients is, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Okay, so people pleasing, that comes from everyone must love me. What does that mean? We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to go against anyone. People pleasers are more likely to get involved in toxic relationships than anybody else. I know of which I speak because I am recovering because I still have some issues with a people pleaser. Perfectionist, and you could be more than one of these, but these are things that you would think, why would that slow me down? Isn't it important to really do your best? It is, but if you are truly a perfectionist, you may be scared to try new things. You may only want to do what you know you can do really well. You may stop yourself unless you can do it perfectly. A pessimist, that's just, we know, like Eeyore of Winnie the Pooh fame, it's just like something bad's going to happen anytime now. A quitter, someone who's just like, it's too hard, I'm going to give up. I need someone stronger than me, often people that just don't feel good enough about themselves. We also know there's controlling people in the world who say, hey, it's my way or the highway. And a blamer, you either blame someone else or qualities about yourself for how your life is. Anybody need more time on the slide?
I think I've got it all.
Okay. So things should be different. How many of us have been thinking about that during the pandemic?
Yes.
I remember the very first time I had to wear, when it was brand new to wear a mask. Okay, it was brand new. And I went to the grocery store wearing a mask. And somebody else was getting out of her car with a mask. And she said, we shouldn't be having to do this. This is the very first time. And you know what? At the time, I agreed with her. It's your fault I feel this way. So how many of us have ever said, hey, you give me a headache? Well, if we think they gave us a headache, then is it their job to take the headache away?
Yes.
You're going to be waiting a real long time. I can't help it. Okay, this is just the way I am. That's it. I can't help it. I cannot be happy unless, like, we think conditions or people have to change in order for us to be happy. I want you to know that's BS. Belief system. Belief system. Because X happened, I must be bad or worthless. When we all have experienced some difficult times in our lives, I'm sure. Whether it's a divorce, whether it's someone dying, whether it's we lost a job, whatever it is. And sometimes we think, this happened because I am a bad person. It wouldn't have happened if I had been a good person. Sometimes, and I hope I don't offend anybody saying this, but sometimes religion puts us in that position,
Yeah.
Organized religion. Yep. And who do I think I am? Anybody ever have a parent say, you're too big for your britches? Who do you think you are? Right? So things should be different. That's again a controller. Your fault, a blamer. Someone who doesn't feel that they're good enough. Again, a blamer. 12, I think, is not good enough for a blamer. Or who do I think I am is not good enough. Now, by the way, and at the end of this, I have information for how you can get on my website. I have 3-month programs on how to change your beliefs. So, I'm giving you something in 1 hour, but this is the essence of it, okay? But if anybody wants more information, please feel free to look at my website. I've got blogs on it, and I have programs on it. Okay, here's some beliefs specifically about financial success. So it would be horrible if I failed or was rejected. What is that one? I'm not going to put up what I did before. What do you think it is? Somebody who feels that way is a
Blamer?
no. This is
Not good enough?
well, that's also true. But
Or
generally,
blamer?
it
I
would
mean,
be horrible
a
if I
pessimist.
failed. Is the perfectionist, and it would be horrible if I was rejected. Is the people pleaser. Okay, I can't afford. Okay. Now, one of the things that can help with this is just changing. I choose not to spend money on this right now. You know, for example, I don't buy $60,000 cars. There are people who do. I don't. My house costs more than $60,000, though, I can tell you that. So I can't afford a $60,000 car? No, I'm choosing not to spend that much money on a car. But I certainly chose to spend more money on getting my house, right? It was my choice. Just changing that can really help you change your mindset if financially that's a struggle for you. If you're paying, if you want financially to get ahead, but you're saying, I'm scared I can't pay my bills, go back to that attention. What are you paying what your intention might be to pay all your bills easily. But when we are feeling afraid, that's where our attention goes. Okay. And F4, 5, and 6 are similar to what the other ones were. I'm not worthy or deserving. Who do I think I am? And F4, I'm too old or too young or too stupid to start my own business, to get ahead in this agency, whatever it is, to go back to grad school, whatever it is. Okay. We put ourselves in our own way and we're not even aware of it. And that's why it's so important to change it. So as I mentioned, attention versus intentions. So I'm going to introduce to you, how are we doing time-wise? I'm sorry, I cannot see the timer from where I am.
It is 12:40.
Okay, thank you. I do want us to have time to do a little bit of breakout sessions. Okay, I'm going to be teaching you something in a moment for how to reprogram some beliefs. Here's a magic phrase to stop negative beliefs that you might want to insert in the information I'm going to give you, which is up until now. So if some of those beliefs you recognized, then I'm encouraging you to say, up until now, I thought I couldn't pay my bills. Up until now, I thought I was too stupid to learn technology. All right. It may have been true. This is one of the ways to stop that is saying up until now. Okay. I'm not talking about denial. Like, oh, I don't think that way when you realize you do. But just add up until now. Okay. Because now you want to stop it. How do you stop it? And again, this is for those of you who have listened to me before. This is still the formula to use. It's called the positive affirmations formula. This is how we reprogram our brain. We now know, and science has proven, that we can literally rewire our brain at any age. That's why, like Reinventing Yourself at Any Age, the book I wrote, it's possible. We used to think, no, what is that old dog? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. We now, again, know that's BS, okay? We can rewire our brains. We now know that the pathways can be changed. It might take longer if we're older. That is true. Like to learn a new language takes longer as an adult than it does as a child, which takes longer than if we were raised in a bilingual home. It's still possible. All right. They have programs for it. The Rosetta Stone, I think it's called, they wouldn't be selling it if it weren't possible. Right. Okay. Here's the formula. And this is what I want to give you a few minutes to practice together. You want to attach whatever it is that you're going to say to I, the first personal pronoun I. You want to state positively what you want instead of what you don't want. Remember the don't run, walk, scenario. Like I stay healthy is much different than I won't get sick. Okay. You want to put it in the present tense. So even if it's not, has not been true up until now, you want to use the present tense because otherwise we're putting it off to the future. Anybody ever say, I will diet tomorrow? You know, I will diet. I will eat healthy. Yeah. Okay. We're always putting it off in the future as opposed to I am on a healthy eating plan now. It's a very different thing. And be as specific as possible. Some things it's hard to be specific on. Like when I said I want to get along well with my daughter on this trip, I don't really didn't know how to specify it, just that we weren't going to have friction, I guess. But when I am on my journey of releasing weight, I have a specific, which I have reached, yay, of pounds that I wanted to release so that I now weigh my ideal weight. I actually released weight during COVID and found it easier to do so because I wasn't socializing with friends. I controlled, just like I controlled my thoughts, I controlled the food that came into my house. It was so much easier. So, okay. This is also how you do it. And again, I know there's people here who've heard it before, but it just bears so much mentioning. Directions, what do? You hand print your affirmation on an index card or a Post-it note. Hand printing is because when we get more senses involved, it makes a bigger impact. So you don't want to use a computer and you don't want to use those of us who still know cursive because younger generation does not. If we don't want to use cursive because we now know cursive has it shows unintentional beliefs in the way we think. Like if you write the word confident, but you always cross your T's with it slanting down, it actually shows you're not confident. So you want to hand print it, okay? You want to be as brief as possible so that you can memorize it. You're going to be writing it, but you want it to be brief. Our brains like clarity. We have trouble when something is not clear. So say it briefly. Use no more than 3. There might be a bunch that you want to work on. I want to change my whole life right now. Choose 3. Again, because we want ourselves to be able to eat, to have clarity. Use your 5 senses. So what does that mean? Well, you're not just going to write it down and read it. You are going to imagine, because remember, our brain does not know the difference between something that is true or false. It doesn't know the difference between a dream and what's happening in outer reality. Use your 5 physical senses to get your brain to believe it. So imagine, like if you want to feel more confident, imagine somebody coming up to you and saying, wow, I really noticed such a change in you. Congratulations, patting you on your back. You know, imagine how you would feel in a new office because you have a new promotion. Oh, okay, now I'm here. Wow, look at that. Smell it. You know, I wanted to get a job. One of the many jobs I've had is a school social worker in North Carolina, which I didn't realize till I moved here. Social workers are resource workers. They don't do therapy like they do in Illinois. I found a way to do it. I worked at a hospital that put us into schools. I was actually getting paid through the hospital though. So when I applied for this job, knowing how rare this is in North Carolina, I imagined myself walking through the hallway with lockers on either side. Now, did that contribute to getting the job? I don't know, but I got the job. Okay. I imagined me being there. So feel as if, as much as possible, that's where the 5 senses come in, and then have gratitude that it has already occurred. Thank you, God. Thank you. When I said I don't like organized religion, I'm very spiritual and believe in God. That may not work for you. So you might say, thank you, universe. Thank you, God. Thank you, higher self, whatever. Okay. Anybody need more time? Then we're going to just try to do a quick breakout. Here are some reprogramming positive beliefs that follow the rules I just gave you. Whoops, so sorry. if anybody wants to write any of these down, or I can send to you these in the future. Okay, I'd be happy to, because I know I'm going fast now. I'm just trying to be mindful of the time.
Right.
Here's some more. And again, you know, if you can't get all this down, just let me know. I'll be glad to send it to you. But these are essential ones that I like to talk to my clients about. Okay. So these are just kind of generic ones. You want to get specific ones. Now, another magic phrase for enhancing empowering beliefs that I encourage you to use is I am in the process of. If you use this positive affirmation, but you have part of you that's doubting it because it isn't true yet, and that's another word you can use, yet, just say, I am in the process of. I am in the process of weighing my ideal weight. I wasn't there yet. It took months. You know, I'm not saying that we go against the laws of the universe. We can't say I'm going to fly without an airplane or a parachute, right? I mean, but I can say, all right, I am in the process of releasing X amount of pounds. It took months to do it. Does that make sense? All right, so there's your giraffe, higher perspective. All right, do we have time to do this, Katie? Kate, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We've got about 10 minutes.
Okay, good. This is what I would like you guys to do. If you're willing to, again, if somebody wants to pass, just do that. Break them out to 3 or 4 people, whatever you think, Kate. I'd like you to think of a situation very factually and objectively. In other words, anybody who saw this would say the same thing. So not like, oh, I hate that my kid is a slob. That's a pejorative statement. But I hate when my kid comes home, she throws her jacket on the floor. Anybody who was in that room could see that the jacket was on the floor. You got it? It's not subject to your interpretation, just factual and objective. How am I feeling? Now, I know when my daughter used to do this, if I had just cleaned the house, I was a lot angrier than when I hadn't. Okay, it wasn't, she was doing the same exact thing. I was interpreting it differently. Doesn't she care that I just spent all this time cleaning my house? You know, okay. What was it? What thinking to myself? Well, that's what I was thinking. Doesn't she care that I spent all this time? Actually, she didn't. Then perhaps you can help each other with the second part. So again, take your phones and take pictures of this part, please. What could I say, think instead to help myself using some of the things that you've learned right now on how to create a positive affirmation? How do you think you would then feel? And then how do you think you would behave as a result? Okay, so Kate's going to put you in different rooms. I hope you'll feel comfortable enough with each other to share. And then we'll just come back for a conclusion.
On about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that doesn't give everybody time. So maybe you just want one person to do it and the other people will be the helpers. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Kate.
Yes, ma'am.
I got my, oops, sorry, hold on. Here we go. I think my internet like blipped and it kicked me out of the meeting. So I came back in. So I missed what Trudy was saying we had to do.
She's wanting us to go in and create our positive affirmation statement.
Oh, okay.
You and I can do it together since you're hanging out in the waiting room with me.
Oh, great. Well, I'd be happy to. Oh, goodness.
I can kind of tell you what mine is.
Okay, go ahead.
I am in the process of weighing my ideal weight of 170 pounds.
Okay, very good. And so I'm doing this on the fly, and I'm going to say that I am in the process of reshaping my business to be what I want it to be. How about that? We're having, because of COVID has messed up the business that Bill Johnson and I have. We're having to really kind of pivot here. So I'm in the process of reshaping my business so that it will be what I want it to be.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I guess do you think we're specific enough to put it out in the universe?
Well, I think you were very specific.
I think
I'm
we're trying to think on mine.
Okay, so I'll speak to one thing, because COVID has essentially wiped out all of our revenue. And one of the reasons why we have to shift is because we can't do our training the way we used to. So we have no revenue through that, the way we used to do it. So I'm in the process of reshaping my business so that it will produce an adequate income. I don't know yet what an adequate income is, but considering I gave up a full-time job to do this,
Yeah.
I needed to cover that. So, yeah, so that's it.
I think that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. This is a good workshop that she's doing.
Absolutely.
I like this. Did I miss anything else? It was just the instructions for what we're supposed to do here. Okay.
That you saw the list of the different things, the different affirmations that she put up.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. Hopefully she'll go ahead and send them to us. Or I guess if not, I can ask her or email her.
Well, I can always tell her at the end, make an announcement at the end if anyone who's interested in those can put their information in the chat. And
Yeah.
send that
Yeah.
to Trudy.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, good. And thank you for all the work you did on the Herb Festival.
Oh, you're so welcome. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, I hope it was successful financially and otherwise. So.
Well, we only had very little plants left. So we've got maybe like 3 little sections out there and it's just one level. So.
Okay. Great. That's
Yep.
great. Have they taken down the tent?
They have.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. Well, good. Well, I know Susan's probably happy to have that behind her.
I think she's, still working through the financials end of it, but I'm sure she's a little more now that the event itself is over.
I'll bet.
All right. And our little countdown clock is going. Till everybody comes back to join us.
Then it'll put everyone back here. Okay. Well, I'll just hang out till then.
Well, I'm glad you hung out and I had somebody to do this with.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being my partner.
Absolutely.
And good luck on your journey.
Thank you. I think I broke my plateau over the Herb Festival.
Oh my goodness. The way you were running around, I'll bet so.
Yeah, I got on the scale this morning because I weigh every morning and I was like, okay, this has potential. Here comes everybody.
Okay, so I know not everyone had a chance to speak. Even if you didn't, Jen, did you feel like you learned something even though we weren't able to focus on you?
Yeah.
Thank you, Pam, for being willing to be vulnerable and sharing. All I'm saying is this is what we can do. It's up to us to choose our own thoughts. Let me just share my screen for one more moment. Okay, let me try that again. Okay, sometimes we do need some assistance with this. a coach, therapist, or mentor. As I mentioned, I've had coaching. I still have coaching, and I've been in therapy. Obviously, I would not have chosen my professions if I did not think they were helpful. But sometimes, you know, a fish cannot see the water it swims in. So sometimes get some help. They can provide a more objective way of thinking, help you succeed, help you be accountable. I have a Truest Life roadmap that has some suggestions on it. It is free. Feel free to go to my website and download it. It'll give you some ideas. I have some that are more in depth that you have to pay a little something for, but feel free. And here's how you can reach me. If I can be of assistance in any way, I would be more than happy to. And I just wish we had more time because I get so passionate about all of this. So anyhow, anybody want to say anything in conclusion or anything?
Thank you for enlightening us.
Yes, thank you. Trudy, do you accept insurance?
I accept insurance in my counseling practice. Coaching is not subject to insurance. And by my code of ethics, it's different. Let me put it this way, BB. I can bring coaching into counseling. I cannot bring counseling into coaching. I do talk a lot about mindset because it's important in both. There is a differentiation. Coaching helps people who are already functioning well do better. Counseling helps to alleviate some suffering. Is that kind of very briefly?
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
feel free to call and we can discuss it. But, I am, by my license as a social worker, there's certain things I cannot do as a coach.
Yeah.
But I can bring coaching into counseling. I do all the time. Either way, I'm very success oriented. I don't focus on what's wrong with you. I focus on what's right with you and how can we make it better. It's just, positive psychology. I think it's important. So anyhow, anybody else?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So is there, I realize that this is a pretty broad general question, but is there any indication of like how long it takes to change a belief if you're practicing this?
If you're practicing it, research has shown that if you're diligent about it, it can actually change in 3 months. That's why I have 3-month-long programs.
Okay.
All right. So if you're 40 years old, it doesn't take 40 years to get rid of it. That's the good news. But it can take, and for some, just like with anything else, like if you're in physical therapy, for some people, they make progress faster than other people.
Mhm.
It's how we're built, whatever. But yeah, research actually shows, I think it's 62 days it can be changed. And I just make it three months to give an extra punch,
Okay.
I guess. Okay.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you, Trudy.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you all for taking your time out. I appreciate it. And just really know, we have a lot of things we can't control. I know the world has felt out of control this last year. We can decide how we're going to handle things. I live alone. I'm an extrovert. I have a dog and cat, thank goodness. But other than that, I have lived alone and did not venture very far. I was one of the ones who took the science seriously. Okay. So all I'm saying is I had a choice of whether I was going to be depressed about it or move on. Right? I love socializing. It was a big change. And I just had to say, one of the things to say to yourself is, where do I want to put my emotional energy? Right? I just decided I didn't want to suffer over it. There was nothing I could do about COVID. I just wasn't going to suffer over it. Now, fortunately, I could see my clients virtually, and that helped. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was able to still be okay financially. but it did affect me because working by myself in private practice and private coaching, I always used my social life as a way to connect with people since I didn't have colleagues anymore. Right? Like, Kate, you're back in the office. So, it's kind of nice to have colleagues hanging around. I didn't have that. So I would make lunch dates and dinner dates and weekend things, all stopped. So.
I have a question, if it's okay.
Sure.
Trudy, are you going to be doing any more sessions with the Women's Resource Group? I'm hoping you're going to do one maybe on truest life road mapping.
I certainly can. We haven't scheduled that yet. We have self-care scheduled for May. That'll be my 4th one for 2021 on self-care, which is also so important. People think that, I won't get into all of that, but anyhow, self-care. We're debating whether that will be done virtually or in person. Kate just asked me and I'm not sure yet. So, anyhow, however, if you have things you would like to have happen, obviously I go into it in much more detail in my own programs, but I can certainly do an overview for any, Kate, maybe see if Susan wants another one from me. Okay. I really love letting people know about this because it's so life-changing. I mean, what I've said was very simple. I know it's not easy, but it's very simple. We have a mind, brain, body. We can decide what we're going to do. That's what it comes down to.